What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bullwinkle Blueprint. Hope you had an amazing Thursday, and I hope your day's over and you're on your way home getting ready maybe for a little Thursday night football. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that thumbs up because, folks, the next few months in crypto are going to be insane. And today, we need to talk about something that feels less like crypto news and more like a quiet government experiment happening in plain sight. Because if what's coming out right now is true, Bank of America, major governments, and Ripple have been running tests with XRP behind closed doors. And it explains exactly why the charts look dead, while the fundamentals look nuclear. Nuclear. I can't say the word. You know what I mean, though. What they hid is wild, and once you see the pattern, you're never gonna unsee it. Without further ado, sit back, relax, let's dive into it. First up, we talked about this yesterday. We're gonna briefly talk about it again because this is gonna set the tone for where this is about to go. Ripple, flywheel, explained, and this is how it works. Institutional products, you get your clients bring you liquidity. Your liquidity deepens your books, which means you get bigger orders, which leads to more XRP demand. And at the end, your price goes up. This is the flywheel that nobody wants to acknowledge because it destroys the XRP is dead narrative instantly. Ripple, they just laid out the real mechanism here, right? Utility creates liquidity. Liquidity creates death. Your death creates your demand, and demand creates price expansion. This isn't a meme cycle. This is how every institutional asset matures. And here's the punchline, folks. XRP isn't slow. It's coiling. Because once institutions start running size through an asset, price doesn't move gradually. It snaps, it re-rates. And with everything else happening in this video, that re-rating, it looks a lot closer than people actually think. And make sure you go over to xrprightnow.com, save it, bookmark it. Every day, 15 to 25 articles. It covers everything, every single piece of Ripple and XRP news I'm dropping on here. So you're going to want to go give it a listen. So all that brings us into Raoul Pal macro view of alt season coming in 2026. Now look, when Raoul talks, I listen. He's a very smart man. He's been through it all. He's been early on every major crypto cycle. He's not saying altcoins go up later. He's saying the macro liquidity window is going to open in 2026. Institution accumulates before that window. Retail comes after that window. And your coins that got infrastructure, not hype, those are going to be your biggest winners. XRP's adoption curve, bank integration, liquidity expansions, they all sync with that timeline frighteningly just a little too well, if you ask me. Listen to them.
Alts are driven by the business cycle. So with the business cycle currently low, we haven't had alt season. And everyone's like, I can't believe they've robbed us of alt season. It's never going to happen. There's too many tokens. We can't have nice things and all of that bullshit we hear all day. It's not. It's just the economy's stupid, because what happens is when earnings go up, when the business cycle is strong, you have more earnings and you invest those earnings further out the risk curve. It's just really basic stuff. It happens for exactly the same as small caps, exactly the same with junk bonds, credit. They all operate in exactly the same way, and the business cycle has been subdued. Listen to Scott Bessent. He's telling you all day, as is Trump, is we're going to have a banner year next year. Why? Because they're going to jam the market with liquidity, and they're going to jam fiscal stimulus through as well. Yeah, if you think about it, the US is a service-based economy. They're going to get rid of tax on tips. That's a huge boost to people. There's like $1.5 trillion that will flow into the banking system just from that stuff alone, from the big, beautiful bill. Then we've got the changes to the SLR that allows maybe $3 or $4 trillion of credit creation from the banking system. We've got enormous amounts of this stuff lining up. Why? Because they wanted to win the election. You know, the good thing is, for once, we've actually got a macro hedge fund manager running the treasury. So I know how he thinks. He was a long-term global macro investor subscriber. I've known him for 20 years, and he understands the game, which is jam the business cycle going into the elections. So we've got that. We've got the debt to roll. It's kind of stacking up, and it tells you your beloved or our beloved.
Look, he's a smart man. If he's saying this, he believes it. If he believes it, I believe it. Let's do a quick little market check before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video. Bitcoin, not too much has really changed from this morning, to be honest with you, right? Bitcoin is coming in here at 90,356. ETH is coming in at 3204. And XRP is coming in at a mean lean $2. That's right, folks. Total cryptocurrency market cap, though, it stays in the green, 3.14 trillion. Which moves us over to this, what Smoke put on out there. Now, blow up these pictures. Only 42.87% of XRP's supply is truly circulating. This is the tweet that most people are massively underestimating. In the first video today, we went over how much is actually left out there, and it's not a lot. Most think that the ETFs need to swallow the entire XRP supply to create a supply shock. That's wrong. We talked about this. We explained it. That is not true. It is only my estimations. There was 3 to 5 billion XRP that was available. ETFs only pull from the liquid slice, and that liquid slice is only 42.87% of the total supply. ETFs, they already hold almost 1% of the entire supply, which means they hold nearly 2% of the actual liquid supply. That's not small. That is the early signature of a constrained market. Every new inflow chips away at a shrinking supply. Remember that. Not the full ledger supply, because we don't care about that number. Right? That doesn't matter. The number you see on CoinMarketCap, it doesn't matter. This is how we get to a supply pressure that forms quietly before it actually explodes publicly. And trust me, it's going to explode publicly. And once these ETFs starts pushing deeper into that 42% range, price action becomes less about speculation and more about math at that point, which brings us over to this. This is very interesting. This is where it gets real. Yeah, the tweet, hypey, I get it, but you know what? That's social media. You got to be hypey. But the core message here lines up with everything we've been hearing in back channels. Banks, governments, agencies have all been testing XRP Ledger for settlement rails, for interoperability, and for payment routing. Santander confirmed. SBI deeply integrating Bank of America. Well, they've been in Ripple's customers' pipelines for years. The public thinks that these entities move slowly. Well, they don't. They don't move slowly. They actually move quietly. FedNow getting shaky isn't about competition. I want you to remember that. It's about redundancy. If the XRP ledger can route value instantly across borders with atomic settlement, why wouldn't banks test it? Ask yourself that question. The plot is absolutely thickening. You see on your screen 21 shares, which was purchased by Falcon X, and that ETF is going live. But here's the interesting, because 21 shares by Falcon X talking about, that's the ticker TOXR, and it's talking about how many financial institutions, and remember, before I get into this, because a lot of you probably don't know who Falcon X is. Falcon X is a massive market maker in the United States. Massive market maker. They purchased 21 shares. 21 shares is the one who is dropping the next spot XRP ETF under the ticker TOXR. Well, they put out this document. Now, they wouldn't have put out this document if the information wasn't true. They stated that many financial institutions, including Santander, Bank of America, and SBI, use or test XRP-powered infrastructure for cross-border settlement. Also states that some governments are exploring the XRP ledger for official payment solutions. That's massive, right? And when we go back to this is what I wanted to actually show you. I showed it a little bit out of order. That's okay. 21 shares, they just stacked 98 million XRP. And to get ready for the ETF launch, right? This is the moment where all your dots should be connecting. 21 shares loading nearly 100 million XRP in a single move. Your ETF assets under management blasting over 1 billion. This is not small money positioning. This is real early stages of institutional capture. When your ETFs accumulate at this speed, mass market awareness, it even kicks in. And it means that they are positioning for a structural reevaluation. And remember, we talked about that circulating pool of 42%. Well, these ETF inflows, they hit directly against that number, which is huge. Which brings us into, where we're going to connect everything. The XRP flywheel, your 2026 liquidity window, the shrinking circulating supply, the quiet banks and government test an ETF swallowing supply like they know something. It becomes very obvious. We are watching the setup phase of a controlled supply squeeze. And by the time the public actually wakes up and realizes this, the re-rating is going to be already underway. And they're going to be buying at a lot higher prices. This isn't hype. This is structure. And it's building faster than anyone actually expected. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on your way out, folks. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see all y'all on the next one.